Last episode we had all sorts going on. We had an attempted, I don't know if it was an attempted assassination, but somebody got shot, the killer got shot. Things are a bit shady at the moment, but we do have an emergency meeting to attend to, so let's do that. The mood in the situation room was gloomy. My cabinet members were gathered to discuss the shooting outside the palace. Lilius presented the initial report. That's Lilius. Bernard Circus was shot dead at 9:03 PM in front of the palace gates. He was an elected independent member of the assembly, and as you know, a famous communist. She spat the last word out with some distaste. The guards at the scene were 50 meters away and immediately took action by responding and killing the assailant, who was identified as the member of the nationalist organisation Young Swords. The president and his family were unharmed, praise God. An MP shot near the palace, that is absolutely unacceptable. Why Bernard Circus? He's always been an infamous figure. His poems had a large impact on the spread of communist ideas in Swordland. Many considered him a threat. Our investigators are suspecting a political assassination since the Young Swords have been threatening the communists for some time. This sets a dangerous atmosphere where the left versus right political violence of the 1920s might spark once again. A return to those days would be devastating. The coups are a reason why our country stagnated for a decade. The Minister of Justice sighed. The Red Youth has condemned the killing but didn't stop there. They promised revenge. Oh shit. This will in turn spark further aggression from the Young Swords. The whole cycle starts because Bernard Circus expressed his views. We can't simply look away. Nia had always been one of the only members of the Justice Ministry truly deserving of the name. That's Nia. Nia Morgna is an attorney for the Swordish region of Berger. She had survived countless attacks on her character while fighting corruption within the ministry, and rising to power had only compounded her sense of moral duty. Freedom of expression is part of our constitution. We can't have anyone, let alone an MP, shot for voicing different opinions. I agree. I fully agree. We should protect freedom of speech. Our laws do, and for good reason. Silencing voices only results in fear and stagnation inside society. We had that before and know very well how it was. I hear your concerns. Our police do their best to uphold the rights of our citizens. We will prevent such an act from happening again by making sure our security measures are re-evaluated. Minister of Defence Losif Lancier grunted in approval. He towered over the rest of us in full military uniform, his many war medals conspicuously on display. Agreed, Mom. Our Grand Marie will also help boost security in the rural areas where possible. There might be more to come. That's Losif Lancier. National security professional. We should refrain from making the issue a political one from the start. It will only add fuel to the fire. You are right, we need to calm the situation. I know what he means. We should refrain from making this issue a political one. Like, I don't know. It's early, but will we attend the funeral? You're right, we need to calm the situation. Our government is capable to maintain security. Our job will be to reduce tensions. Several police cars rushed past the Maroon Palace and everyone went silent. Regardless, a full investigation on all involved parties is underway. We will find the subversives and punish them soon enough, Mr. President. I will do my best to help coordinate the administrative tasks. Justice will be served and the rule of law will return to this country stronger than ever. Only if we stay vigilant as a country. We must think about the upcoming budget. Yeah, I agree. It's too soon to jump to conclusions. Reckless acts will have dire consequences. Internal stability must be maintained. Any threat to our power must be dealt with as soon as possible. It's too soon to jump to conclusions. Reckless acts will have dire consequences. Definitely. Agreed, we need to be patient until we have the full picture. Lucian took some notes after checking the latest newspapers and reports. It seems that the tensions between the communists and nationalists will escalate further. It will be very difficult to pass any meaningful change if there is chaos in the country. We can't fix recession if there isn't stability. You are right, we need to trust our ministers to stabilise the situation if it comes to it. This will be it for today then. We will convene again soon. Thank you all. Keep us updated. Right, so what's a crack-a-lackin' now? Nothing else happening in Holsword. Rain spoke of unity. Restructure the infrastructure. Well, we did want to do that. Roomberger is apparently coming south. I hope not. But we are definitely not prepared. Oh, continue. I didn't even know there was a bloody... Oh, continue to next turn. Oh, so it must be in... Oh, this must be next chapter, do you think? A few days later. Vive la révolution! Oh, here we go. Got a few things going on. Communist Party leader suspected of bomb attack. Shit. Unattended bag in front of the NFP office in Valgan was destroyed by the police on suspicions of a bomb threat, which were then verified. Upon further investigation, the Communist Party leader of Valgan, Mit Hanu, had been arrested in connection with the incident. Shit is not going well. You know what it is now when people like decide to fucking use bombs and violence and all that? They just need to fucking chill out, man. Honestly, not gonna change anything. The leader of Agnola has diplomatically critiqued the imbalance of trade between our countries. Concerns were raised over how much more Swordland profits from net trade in comparison to Agnolia. Prime Minister Martin van Horten requests a fair re-evaluation of existing treaties in future negotiations. Agnolia, so that's outside of our boundaries. We've only got boundaries to Agland. Police overburdened and stored. Illegal firearms found in Communist Party office. Fucking hell, the Communist Party's gone apeshit, aren't they? Actually, no, they're not. The Communist Party got killed. The poet. And now the Communist Party must be gearing up. Fucking trying times. Police are understaffed. Young Swords youth wing leader dead after terror attack. Phew. Local Young Swords youth wing leader in Suzerain, Jack Torian, has claimed responsibility for the organised attack in the Bloodish Market that resulted in the death of 7. His base of operations have been raided and he was found dead inside with 2 bullet wounds to the back of the head. The scene was organised to make it look like a suicide. Illegal AK-47 seized. Right, so we've got an idea of the current situation. Smolak warns traitors. The latest diplomatic message from the leader of Wayland warned us regarding a pathway from the mountains of Bergia that allowed traitors of the state escape in Swordland. President Victor Smolak. See you at the party, Victor. He has demanded that the border security be increased. Okay, so he wants security. Alright, let's have a look at what's going on. Oh, there's one more. Weapons seized in cultural centre. Yeah. Okay, it's the overlying issue at the moment. Read the reports from Holsword. BFF activity on the capital. The Chief of Police, Carl Greaser, reports that 2 Bluedish women with affiliations to the Bluedish Freedom Front have been caught in Holsword before they could execute a terror attack on a crowded rally. Both women were listed as wanted criminals and enemies of the state. The arrested women have admitted their intentions to attack the National Front Party rally at Sol Square, where Cesario Kivner gave his speech, but rejected any connections to the BFF. Both claimed that they were acting alone. Police reports on the situation are under control and further investigations are underway. Dinner with the family at home. Right, come on, we'll sort our family out. After a long day at the palace, I was finally home. I thanked Sergei and walked through the front gate, nodding at our 2 guards as I went by. Even as I turned the doorknob, I could hear Dina rushing down the stairs to greet me. I opened the door and there she was, standing in front of me with expectant eyes. Papa, you're home. There's my beautiful princess. There's my bright little one. I lifted Dina up and hugged her while trying to put the keys in the tray next to the entrance. She was growing fast. Lifting her up was no longer as easy as it once was. How was school? Boring. I like my old school better. I put her down and the expression turned serious. Papa, are the bad men gone? There was only one bad man, Dina, and yes, he's gone now. I will never let anyone hurt you ever. Yes, your papa took care of everything. There was only one bad man, Dina, and yes, he's gone now. Okay, Papa. Dashed down the hallway. Mama, Papa's here. Mama appeared next to the kitchen door. She was wearing an apron and holding a spatula in her hand. What did I tell you? No running in the house. Yes, Mama. Monica approached me and kissed me on the cheek. A tantalizing smell wafted from the kitchen behind her. How was your day, dear? Terrific. I finally got to do some grocery shopping just like old times. And I'm making your favourite. You mean Zabla. Zabla was one of my hometown specialities, a chickpea stew topped with beef braised in tomatoes and Persian spices, traditionally served in a clay pot. It was absolutely my favourite dish, especially paired with kebj, potent, unfiltered wine from my region. Kiss her on the cheek. I just wanted to say, cheer up. I just wanted to cheer up everyone a bit. Her smile faded and she lowered her voice so that Dina wouldn't hear, especially after what happened at the ball. I am worried, Anton, for you, for the children, for the country. Dina suddenly appeared next to us. Mama? Yes, sweetheart. I'm hungry. We'll eat in just a minute. Will you help me set the table? Rock and roll music echoed down the hallway. I caught a faint of cigarette smoke. Let's knock on the door, give him his privacy. There was no response. I'm going to open the door. The door's locked. Knock on the door again. Bang on the door. The stereo in Frank's room clicked off. Alright, alright. Oh, Frank, you emo bitch. And sort it out. He unlocked and opened the door. What do you want? What do I want? Hand over those cigarettes and join your family for dinner. You smoke, don't you? I'm old enough to do what I want. As long as you live in this house, you'll do as I command. I'm trying to quit that nasty habit. You ought to stop while you still can. Frank heaved a sigh, handed me the packet and headed downstairs. I followed him to the living room. The table was prepared and Monica was ladling food onto the plates. Come on, have a seat. It won't be as tasty if it's cold. As we started eating, the room went quiet. Monica's cooking was as delicious as ever, but I had a feeling that it wasn't the reason nobody spoke. Monica was the first to break the silence. Say, did you know that they refurbished the grocery store? After a bombing, I bet. I don't know if you remember the owner. He's been there every day for the past 30 years. Can you imagine doing the same job for so long? What if you were president for 20 years, for example? I don't want this country to suffer under another soul. Honestly, I'll ask her. Honestly, would that be so bad? Monica measured me with her eyes for a moment. Anyway, the grocer is a really nice person. He threw in some extra vegetables with my... Frank suddenly slammed his hands on the table, rattling china. Monica, Dina, and I stared at him. So this is how it's going to be. We're just going to sit here like nothing happened. Daddy could have been killed, Mommy could have bbeen killed, any one of us could have died. Dina's lower lip started trembling. Monica put her hands on Frank's shoulder. Frank, you know I would never let anything happen to Dina, no? And what would you have us do? And yet we're still alive? It's a tricky situation. Because I can't promise that, can I? If someone's going to assassinate us, it's going to happen. Like, you're not going to change that, really. This is the only way to defuse the situation. Frank, you know I would never let anything happen to you or Dina, even if it cost me my life. Oh, that's a tricky one. I don't want to say that, because they don't want me dead either. And yet, we are still alive. For now, but how long until this happens again? Frank got up from his seat. Frank, fine, let's talk. Sit down. He took a seat again, scowling. I know it was a close call, but everything's under control. How? How is it under control? My security assured me that they took all the necessary steps. It was one rogue shooter, we weren't even the target. What if we were? Frank, listen to your father. If your father says we don't need to worry, then we don't need to worry. You have to trust him. Monica turned to me. We all have to trust each other. Things calmed down a bit at the table. We finished our food in silence. Frank got up first and retreated back to his room. Monica lifted Dina up and popped her in front of the living room TV before returning to the table. She sat down across from me. Anton, he is still young. I know, but there's not much longer we can shield him from the ugliness of the world. He's scared, Anton, and frankly he isn't the only one. I promise if there is truly any threat to this family, you'll be the first to know. She got up, stood behind me and massaged my shoulders for a moment before leaving me alone in the dining room. I sat alone at the table and drained my glass of cabbage. Had I been lying to Frank and Dina? Was the threat to my family truly over? Time would tell. Ho 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 ho. Time will certainly tell. Right, so here we're going to have the security briefing. I arrived in front of the doors leading to the situation room. Today's security briefing was arranged in two parts, starting with internal matters and moving on to external matters after a short break. The Minister of Interior, Lilius Graf, and the Minister of Justice and Law, Nia Morgana. Yeah, well these are two people we know. For the second part of Minister of Defence, Losif Lancia would join with a few high-ranking officials including the Chief of Armed Forces, Valken Kruger. I opened the door. Lucian, Nia and Lilius rose from their seats. Sir? Let's begin. Everyone in the room sat down except for Lucian. He put his glasses on and went through the documents in front of him. Shortly after, he raised his head to address the attendees. Mr. President, ladies, we will kick off today's meeting with the internal security briefing. I am assuming everyone has already been over the agenda. We all have busy schedules, so without further ado, I'll jump into our first topic. As we feared, the political atmosphere has worsened. The reports around the country indicate that tensions are rising as we feared. What is the situation on Bernard Circus investigation? Yes, the guy that died. Funny thing is, he looks very similar to me, doesn't he? I look a bit like Eddie Murphy. I nearly said Eddie Murphy. This is a far stretch from Eddie Murphy. Freddie Mercury. He looks a bit like Freddie Mercury. I have received news this morning that the investigation into the murder of Bernard Circus has concluded. Please enlighten us. The more we know, the better. After further research and testimonies, we have confirmed the intention and also the events leading up to the shooting. A few days prior, members of the Red Youth is a political organisation with alleged connections to a number of insurgent attacks amongst the Swedish government, founded in 1923 by a group of revolutionaries. Okay, so they're a bunch of cunts. Initiated a violent attack on the Young Swords local leader in Jen. We believe the Young Swords then called for revenge, leading to the death of Mr. Circus. Since he often spoke against the Young Swords and nationalist sentiments in the assembly, he was a big target, not to mention his radical communist views. Yeah. I agree that possibly did have it coming. But political violence needs to stop. Yes, we've kept it at bay for so long, but it seems that there are now new triggers. Lily has handed over the report and pointed at a highlighted section in the document. The investigation revealed a very troubling fact. The funding sources of the Red Youth have a clear link to United Contana, Federalist Socialist Republic situated in the continent of Contana, and considered as a superpower of the world. It is a union of multiple socialist republics spanning Contana. Okay then. What does this mean? That the communist superpower is meddling in our affairs. Several Red Youth members with ties to United Contana have been detained, and the information extracted from them points to a preparation for a communist uprising in Swordland. It isn't unusual for the superpowers to influence other nations, but I think this case is a little far-fetched. The left lacks popular support in Swordland. Nia eagerly lifted her hand. I motioned for her to speak. I went over the report in detail. It would be wrong to jump to conclusions about a clear foreign interference yet. United Contana has humanitarian and cultural ties with many countries including Swordland. At the same time, this could be a plot to interrupt us. These few people that got caught in extracting information. Do you even think they're telling the truth? I'm not so sure. Yeah, I don't think we should create a crisis with them. We need to sort ourselves out before we try and sort other continents out. I also don't want to jump to conclusions. We shouldn't create a crisis with them. Nearly 3 decades ago, they funded General Ricard. General Lannick Ricard was a Swordfish military officer who led the 7th Army in the Swordfish Civil War. He was killed in action during the Battle of Holsword while fighting against the forces of Colonel Tarquin Sol. Ah. Okay. And tried to establish the communist dictatorship in our country. If it was not for Colonel Sol, we would have seen the real crisis. She took a sip from her glass of water and continued. Our police chief Carl Grazier has linked the funding channel to the United Contana consulate in Benfey, southeast coast of Swordland. As we all know, the enemies of Swordland are many, but we also have threats inside the country. We need to remain vigilant as people and a nation. If we give up essential freedoms to purchase temporary security, we deserve neither freedoms nor security. Yeah, she does have a point. This is debatable, but yes, we know that more security and surveillance We know what more security and surveillance caused to this country under President Sol. Let's not forget that President Sol, God bless him, brought stability after a long period of bloodshed and chaos, but moving on. Our highest internal threat comes from the estimated 20,000 strong Bluish Freedom Front, led by the imprisoned Julian Argay. They're a banned political organisation. They are a banned political organisation, now a militant force that is trying to incite real racial violence. The thing is though, if you ban organisations, you're just going to create, like, it's not... What does banning an organisation do? You can't ban an organisation. You can't ban people's views. They make a lot of noise but have little substance. A barking dog doesn't bite. Are they supported by our Bluish citizens? Are they cooperating with any Bluish political organisations? Many suspected links exist between the Bluish Freedom Front and the Workers' Party of Bluda. We don't have concrete proof yet. Most of its support from the Berger region. Left wing, the party places a strong emphasis on participatory democracy, unions, minority rights and egalitarianism. Lily is pointing to the page 3 in the report. Our intelligence intercepted 2 crates filled with weapons close to the Runeberg border. They were filled with military-grade KA-74s. We expected that more have been smuggled in since a group of Bloods were caught with these guns at a checkpoint not far away. Runeberg has been acting aggressively in the region for a long time. I'm not surprised that they would attempt to weaponize the Bluish people against us. This is worrying, very worrying. Can we make any direct correlations to blame Runeberg? We do need to keep level-headed with Runeberg. They are looking for reasons to take action. But first off, can we make any direct correlations? Not yet, but we have suspects that indicate such correlation. This is grave news, but we must be careful not to stoke the fires of anti-Bluish sentiment. What is the second most important threat? The gang violence that is threatening the Nargis and Agnal. Alright, so there's Angland region that we're helping with the road. Suffers from gang violence. 2 prominent organised crime families are at war and the potential for bloodshed is real. Which 2 families? One is known as the Coronelli, the most notorious criminal organisations in Swordland, the Cartel, and the Skinner Cartel. Received its name from their old methods of skinning their enemies alive. Oh, so a nice bunch then. They used to be allies until a recent disagreement. Both are active in the cities of Narbel and Estord. They are playing with fire. I want them gone for good. Lilius, I trust that you can handle them. Yeah, they are playing with fire. I want them gone for good. While I agree it would make Swordland a better place, it will not be easy. These gangs exist because corruption is so common in our country. They buy our police officers and slip by checkpoints. Lilius sighed deeply. I shall be honest with you. With our current capabilities, we may not be able to prevent the further arming of separatists while maintaining order in Berja, Nargis and Angland. If the law enforcement budget isn't increased, I can't be fully responsible for what happens. Our police units are spread thin as is. Ooh, do I increase the police budget? Has that proven to help though? But I've only got 2 budget. In light of this information, I may have to increase the law enforcement budget, but I do need to know what that entails. We will rid our country from separatist and violent thugs if you do so. I wish you would stop using the word thugs, Lilius. The real problem is corruption, which is fueling the gang violence and is very likely the reason why these weapons were smuggled in. A higher budget could help us end that. These are valid points, because corruption is the root of all evil after all. Exactly, like if you've got people that are trying to protect your country and they are corrupt, at the end of the day, criminals are going to be criminals. There's always going to be that element. But the people you have on your team are what fucking is the make or break. Corruption is the problem. We can look at the corruption once the weapons have been found and the gangs have been beaten. Just like previous administrations, kicking the can down the road, this is what's destroying our institutions. Lilius and Nia were openly scowling at each other. Lilius turned back to her notes. Well, this concludes the topic for internal portion. Thank you for the updates, Miss Graff, Miss Morgana. Thank you for the overview. Let's move on. Have a good day. Until next time. The 2 ministers left the room. We took a short break before continuing the second part. Upon invitation, Losif Lancia, along with 3 high-ranking officials from the Ministry of Defence, walked into the room. One of the men was none other than General Kruger, Chief of the Armed Forces. Okay. Losef made his way towards a table while the others stood by the door. Mr. President? Losef, welcome. I brought General Kruger with me due to the escalations on our borders. General Kruger stepped forward and saluted. He had a strong jaw with sharp cheekbones. His tall stature, uniform and medals, combined with his deep and intense stare, made him look threatening. He was in his 70s, yet had a bulky body that was a result of his commando training. Not only was he the second most decorated officer in Swordland, he was also the longest serving. Salute him. We'll give him some respect. He smiled at the gesture and bowed his head in respect. Losef tapped his foot impatiently. He seemed uneasy with the presence of another high-ranking officer in the room. Gentlemen, thanks for coming to this significant gathering. Let's begin. Losef and Valken took their seats at the table while the rest of the officers stood by the door. Mr. President, the situation at the western and northern borders towards Runeberg is very tense. We are observing deployments of divisions closest to our border. Runeberg has been acting increasingly expansionist in the past decades and has also interfered in Agnolia. But now they have turned their sights on us. What is your current strategy? Patrolling close to the borders with our border force and keeping army reserve divisions near. It seems like they want to increase the pressure both externally and internally. Mr. President, if I may. Go on. The picture is becoming clearer. The latest information from the interior about the weapons caches, and now there is an active military build up close to our borders. The entire situation was analysed by our general staff and prediction is a future territorial incursion by Runeberg. I do have trust in the general staff. We will not let you down, Mr. President. The general staff is composed of the smartest military individuals. I require an increase in military budget to enlist more soldiers. Only then we can stand strong against our enemies. The enlarged armed forces will hold them at bay. Valken is right. We do need an increase in military budget, so to have more capable force to face regional power, to defend Swordland. Two of our most talented officers are voicing a common opinion. That is an understatement. Times are changing and wars coming, Mr. President. Whether we like it or not, we must be prepared. During the election you said nothing about focusing on our military. I asked you to reconsider and to increase the military budget. The future and safety of Swordland is in your hands. I don't know if I want to increase the military budget. It could be wasted. What if we wasted some budget and these people aren't gearing up? It's tricky, isn't it? It's such a balancing act. I'm a man of my word, Losef. That is a valuable trait, Mr. President. However, it will not help when the enemy armies are invading our cities. Our forces would crumble under a decrease, and Runeberg would be much more compelled to exploit our weaknesses. Our country hasn't fallen to any invading force for 200 years. You cannot let it happen, Mr. President. We could also find regional allies like Valzand or Lesbia to deter Runeberg. There are several options on the table. Yeah. Runeberg wouldn't attack any nation allied with any superpower. One shudders at the sacrifices they would require us to make. Yes, but what is the difference between losing your independence to one or the other? Everyone fell silent while a soldier entered the room and let Losef Lancia know that a call had come through from the ministry. Excuse me, Mr. President. Losef left. A few minutes later he entered the room again. His expression had changed. Mr. President, there has been Runebergian military activity close to the Narbel border. I just spoke with the local commander. Valken, we should go to the ministry and get further updates from our branches. Understood. Raising military readiness is the first call of action. If there is a truly extraordinary attempt, we will relay it to you immediately and wait for further orders, Mr. President. Remain calm. Make sure not to escalate things further. Nobody wants a war. We will exercise the utmost caution, Mr. President. Hail Swordland. Hail. They saluted and left the room. Runeberg was already testing us, and reports from the interior indicate interference inside our borders. Communist, nationalist, bluish rebels, Runeberg expansionism, what next? Swordland has always been a key piece in the chessboard of the global rivalry between Arcasia and United Contana, but in recent years there was no such aggression from Runeberg, not at these levels at least. All it takes is one tiny spark to start the flames of war. The phone rang. Runeberg had decided to close their consulate in Lashaven. Fucking brutal. Now the issue I've got is, if Runeberg do want to attack, and we do decide to increase the budget, we might be able to fend them off. But it's not going to help our country. It's going to keep us in a fucking recession. It's going to keep us fucked. And that's only if they are. If our military commanders have got it wrong, and this is the issue, right, that I've got, is I do understand that there's a lot of wasted money in the military. A lot of wasted money. It's such a big business that if you're, how do I explain this? If all you know in life is the military, or the same for any job, if that's all you know, and you can see it coming to an end, or there's maybe redundancies, you will embellish how much you are needed to keep your lifestyle and things. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's why I think a lot of things in the private, not the private sector, the public sector, everything that's publicly run always demands more money, because people need to validate their jobs even though they're not needed. I know that, well, from everywhere I've worked, there's so much, what's the word, there's so little efficiency, because people don't care, because it's not theirs to own. A lot of people just go in to do the bare minimum, and I don't necessarily think that's such a bad thing, but I've been in companies where there's been people's jobs that their job is, it's so minute, but they're getting paid a full wage, that they're going to embellish and make their positions seem a lot higher to keep their job, ask for more funding, ask for more money. That's what I feel sometimes the military and public sector areas do. Okay, so with that being said, let's react to the unrest. Come on, let's make some decisions. The political situation around the country has escalated. Chief Strategist Lucien Gallard has prepared several action plans that we can execute. What will we do to address the intensifying political climate? Call for restraint on national television. Visit affected towns in person. Label all protesters as traitors. Expand the police by deploying all recruits in training. Reject the plans. Right, I think we should, I think the best thing to do is show how much we are present in this situation. I'm gonna visit affected towns in person. Let them know that I'm there. Not only is this a power move, it's a move that I think could get a lot of people on our side, and that's exactly what we need, to be honest. We need to be personable. We need to be a president of the people. Right, something popped up here. United Contana Embassy helped protesters. Around midnight, Red Youth protesters clashed with young swords at the Vesord city centre, resulting in many injuries. The counter-protesters were cornered, in front of the United Contana Embassy after they were pushed back by police. The embassy opened its doors and Red Youth members escaped inside. The police are still waiting outside of the building for the return of Red Youth members. Well, I think many people would do that to get them separated to stop the violence, because as much as these two factions are arseholes, you need to separate them. So I don't necessarily think the embassy did a bad thing. I think they did a good thing there. Okay, back to Holsword. Read the report. Arcasia develops first ICBM. Intelligence reports that Arcasia has successfully completed Missile 4, an intercontinental ballistic missile which is estimated has the estimated capability to accurately destroy targets at thousands of kilometers of range. Arcasian missile capabilities have significantly increased, posing a threat to territories that are further away from Western Mercopa. End of the day at the Maroon Palace. It was late in the evening. The Maroon Palace was finally getting somewhat quiet and I returned to my office at the top. I eagerly approached my chair and sprawled out on it. It had been an exhausting day, just like every day since I took office. Lean back and relax. I stretched out my arms, leaned back in my chair and took a deep breath. Holsword's skyline was daunting but beautiful. I glanced downwards out the window and saw Sergei and the guards waiting for me by the main gate. I heard a couple of knocks on the door. My secretary, Livia Suno, entered. Livia Suno. Mr. President, Mr. Tusk is here to see you. You had a meeting with the Lothburg spokesman. I'm so sorry for not giving you proper notice. Don't worry about it. Thank you for your understanding. After a moment, Mr. Tusk swaggered in the room. Walter Tusk is a millionaire businessman, investor and current spokesperson of the Lothburg Group. I don't like how the text highlights orange when I hover over it, because I can't actually read it when it's orange or yellow. Lothburg. He owns the Economist Group, which publishes the well-known newspaper. Oh, so this is her friend at the newspaper. Okay, so this is we know what this is going to be about. I'd met Sordon's most prominent businessman once or twice, but never alone. He had large jowls, blindingly shiny shoes, and the air of someone who was used to getting his way. Anything to drink, Mr. Tusk? Water, whiskey? Cognac, preferably from before you were born, sweetheart. I'll check the supply room. Livia backed out of the office, shooting me an apologetic look as she did so. Walter hung up his hat, which I could see was lined with mink. He fixed me with a long hard stare, then broke into a toothy grin. Good evening, Mr. President. I'm here to congratulate you. We both sat down. My business partners and I wish you a successful term as leader of our nation. Thank you, Mr. Tusk. I had no chance to say this at the ball with all the panic, but we are very much looking forward to working with you. Why is it that you're really here, Mr. Tusk? Get down to business, brass tacks. I see that you're not very welcoming, President. I merely congratulated you. I see no reason to necessitate rudeness. I don't believe I'm being rude. Time is money after all, isn't that right? Walter took a conspicuous look at the diamond-encrusted watch on his wrist. Yes, that's true, but at the same time patience and humility are important virtues for a man in your position. You are the President after all. May I continue, please? I'd like to build a profitable relationship between us. That being said, there are some concerns of mine and the people that I represent, which I would like to take this opportunity to clear up. What are these concerns? The ruined state of the economy in Solon has influenced everyone. The recession hit us all hard. Walter pulled out a box of cigars from his jacket. I had these brought from Lesbia, the best cigars on the whole continent. Would you like to try one? I'd rather not have you smoke here. You go on ahead, I don't want to smoke. Walter grabbed himself a cigar and lit it. He looked out towards the city scenery and he puffed away. I heard that you purchased stock from Armadine Industries in Arcasia. Smart buy. They are developing new gadgets that are going to be profitable. With risk comes reward. I expect very good returns on investment. You have a keen eye for business. I will buy a couple of thousand of shares too to expand my portfolio. Hope the investments pay off for both of us, President. His eyes wandered away for a moment. You are having a good start of the term for sure, besides the recent troubles. Glad that you've decided to promote the free market, which is the only thing that can get us out of this mess. Okay, so we're on the same page regarding that. The ability of the free market to evolve is hard to dispute. It's good that we think alike on that matter. To a closer relationship then. One that will bring Swordland out of crippling recession. He grinned. What's this guy's deal? The highway investment was a good call, but there was more to gain in the high-speed rail, especially for business logistics. The Angland region was in dire need of investments. Yeah, the Angland region was in dire need of investments. The most important goal is to divert investments where most profits can be made for the Treasury. We can be close allies. The group can help you get Swordland out of the recession, which is the key problem to solve in your term. It could even determine your re-election. Let's start with a gesture of goodwill. Soon the investment project contract will be awarded to one of three main contenders. He pulled a check out of his pocket and slid it towards me on the table. My personal bank details were listed on it with a deposit of 500,000 Swordish Ren ready to be transferred. This was 6 months of a president's salary. If the contract is somehow awarded to Underhall Construction, they would not only work hard and deliver, but also do it on time. Underhall Construction. The real estate giant is owned by the Mayor of Conrad, Chris Shea. Most people in Swordland know the name by the many iconic buildings they have constructed in nearly all major cities. Recently the company sold half the shares to Walter Tusk. Yes, okay, so this is why he wants this. While this breached certain competition clauses, it was largely ignored. Underhall is a gigantic real estate company that is very influential in construction projects of the private sector. Some of their recent work is the Hallsword Central Station, which they have completed on time but violated workers' rights in the process. Yeah, unfortunately this isn't going to happen, mate. What do you think, Mr. Rain? Would that be good? He puts his index finger on the check. There was a noise by the door. Livia Suno was standing there holding a tray with a bottle and 2 glasses. I'm so sorry, Mr. Tusk, but all I could find was 1942-70. I hope that's acceptable. He quickly put the tray on my desk and walked out. Tusk eyed her as she left. Remind me to visit your office more often. Oh, you dirty bastard. Now where are we? Do we have a deal? No. I will make my own decision. Remain strong. I'm not going to call him out on the bribery because we all know what that is. He needs to know that doesn't wash with me. Walter sighed and pulled the check away, putting it back in his pocket. I'm not going to make any threats. Did you think that I was just another corrupt politician? Let's ask him. Administrations are built on mutually beneficial partnerships, but I do understand where you stand now. Oh, I almost forgot. Please say hello to Mr. Coronti for me. Sort of businessman, philanthropist, entrepreneur who is the famous media proprietor, chairman of HOS. Okay. He smiled. Have a good evening, President. Walter stood up, grabbed his jacket, and made his way towards the door. He closed the door behind him. I gathered my things and prepared to finally head home. As I walked out, I noticed Livia still there, covering up her typewriter for the evening. If I may be so bold, Mr. President, did you accept his offer? Of course I didn't. How could you even ask me that? The other girls have told me about all kinds of dealings that went on during the Alfonso administration. I wasn't sure if you were that kind of president. Don't worry your pretty head about it. I most certainly am not. She and I took a moment to look over the lights of the city before heading to the elevators. Yeah, she needs to understand that I'm a man. I'm a motherfucking man. I do what I want. Finalisation of the A3 highway contract, City Hall, Lenkirk, okay. After driving through the cliffside roads, we arrived in Lenkirk. The cheerful citizens greeted us and the local government officials escorted us to the City Hall. Here, a significant meeting about the H3 project, the H3, what the hell? The H3 project would take place. Several construction companies sent their representatives to the City Hall. 2 seconds, I need to drink, my mouth's like fucking Gandhi's flip-flop. Even though Gus Manger couldn't make the meeting, I had Simone Hall and Elilius Graf by my side. Besides starting our economic recovery, the travel time by road will drop by more than a half, Mr. President. This project will improve the Angland region. I have lived with these people and seen them suffer. I trust your plans, Simone. Come on, we've although I think me and her do have our differences, I think we've got different policies and politics. This is the one that I do agree with. I trust your plan, Simone. I'm glad to hear that. We should be able to slow down the recession if we finish this project successfully. Positive financial outcomes are expected. According to my sources, this can lift many out of poverty in these areas. Do you need additional support? Not as of right now. Good. However, things might come up if the project doesn't go according to plan. Thank you for the offer. Simone searched the documents. What? Oh, that's Simone. Simon. I keep calling him Simone, but it's Simon. It's just spelled fucking stupid. Because when it said he there, I thought we were talking to her. That's Elilius Graf. Well, wait there. I was talking to Lilius there. Positive financial outcomes are expected, blah, blah, blah. And I said, do you need additional support? And Simon... Oh, because these two are working together. Okay, I was speaking to both of them. Good. Simon searched the documents he was holding and found the one he was looking for. I have the overview of the companies here. Simon handed the files over to me. Look at them. I looked at the files. 3 corporations were listed. The Sawdust State Corporation, Underhall Construction, obviously, because we've just tried to be bribed by them, and Taurus Holden. Right, let's have a look at them. Sawdust State Corporation. Founded in 1891, the Sawdust State Corporation, SSC, is the main government corporation that is tasked with running government construction contracts in Swordland. It's also part of the Big Four, the 4 largest companies in Swordland, most usually also called the SSC. It is the most honourable company in the country, with a long and solid track record of accomplishing critical projects. In the recent years, the efficiency of the corporation seems to have dropped due to the recession and somehow corrupt management structure. It's still considered the safest bet for big projects in the minds of many government officials. Okay, that's a bit tarnishing. Underhaul Construction, I'm completely ruling them out because I don't want none of that. Recently the company, yeah, we know they did. Some of their recent work, yeah, we've read that already. Taurus Holding. Founded in 1946 by Gerald Fay. Taurus Holding is a new and entrepreneurial private company that uses cutting-edge construction technology from Arcadia to reduce construction costs and prices. They recently began taking bigger and riskier contracts in several industries, including the construction industry. Taurus also deals with shipyard building, bridge works, and training aircraft hangars. The company is known for its great employee perks and high union membership. It is considered much more open and competitive compared to usual Sodus corporations. They are known for their port expansion project in Benfleet, which was completed with half the budget. This company sounds promising. It does. I would have liked to give my business to the Sodus State Corporation. But I don't take kindly to corruption. Okay, I think I've made my choice. I've reviewed them. I also took the liberty of asking the Mayor of Arvery to give his opinion on the matter. Which corporation should we talk about? Tell me about the Sodus State Corporation first. Respected, known as the SSC, was founded in 1891. It's a main state corporation running day-to-day construction services in our country. It's one of our most trusted and honourable companies. They've served us a long time. It goes against your election promises of moving away from a state-planned economy. It goes against your election promises. Most importantly, the Sodus State Corporation lacks a modern way of thinking, resulting in slower construction. Yeah, that's my issue. A simple look at the regional highway shows us the problem. The regional highway system has no relation to this. They do have a wealth of knowledge and infrastructure. I don't agree with the negative statements for the SSC. Their record clearly shows completed contracts with thousands of employees who have more than 20 years experience. According to the preliminary circulations of the SSC, they would need more resources to finish a project of this size. Concerning. I'm on the fence about the SSC. Right, tell me about Underhaul. The real estate and construction giant was founded. They expanded during the economic boom of the 30s. It would fit our market economy policy. The CEO is Chris Shaw, the mayor of Conray. He sold half of his shares a few years ago. I had to work with Underhaul Construction before in Halsord. They took several contracts for the central station renovation and left much to be desired. The A3 project shouldn't be left to them. Thoughts, Simon? I think they've been doing relatively well in the private sector, where they are dominating the construction industry with successful projects. Nonetheless, they treated their workers below our working standards during Halsord. Yeah, that's not now. Working conditions must be respected. This doesn't inspire confidence. I agree. The workers were undocumented Angolian and Wezek immigrants with no papers, a clear violation of our laws. According to them, the reason for the bad labour condition was because of the tight completion schedule, which doesn't justify the situation. Well, it doesn't, does it? Fuck that company, I'm not interested. I'm not sure about Underhaul. Right, Taurus. Was founded in 1946, owned by entrepreneur Gerald Fay. I like how his name is Gerald. It is a new holding company whose subsidiaries are cutting-edge technology from Arcadia, yet reduces construction costs and prices. They're known to provide for their workers who are part of the labour union of Swordland. There are other things Taurus does very well, like providing consultants for the state corporations, but I can't vouch for their infrastructure construction at all. Why should we pick Taurus? It would fit our election promises of switching to a free market economy. Awarding contracts to privately owned corporations would be a step in the right direction. Taurus has completed fewer projects than the other companies, however they are slightly faster and cheaper. It won several awards internationally for being one of the fastest growing and advancing companies. The innovation aspect is refreshing, especially if they can deliver. They were only involved in smaller scale regional projects. This doesn't prove their capabilities for larger undertakings that are more complex. The project manager from Taurus Holding mentioned that they would be able to finish the project with the allocated funding. They are the only company who found the budget sufficient, making them a cheaper alternative. I've settled on Taurus Holding. I've already made my decision. Good that we are staying consistent to our economic strategy. Simon signed a certain section of the dossier and fixed his glasses. Very well, Mr. President. The contract will be awarded to Taurus Holding. I wish the outcome of the meeting was different, but at the end of the day, the success of the project is what matters. That's exactly right. The company will be notified today and the construction work will begin immediately after. I think we're off to a great start. My expectations for a grand opening ceremony are late next year. I better get back to work then. Thank you, this concludes the meeting. Thank you. It was nice to enjoy the natural beauty of Angland and to eat some good fish. Yeah, I think we're doing wonders for this region and I think it'll help the wider economy. Okay then lads, what we'll do is we'll call it an episode there. It's been really good. One thing I do want to do before I leave, I want to find out what this has been flashing for ages, the country overview. Oh, this is good. You know what? We'll take a look at that first thing next episode. Because I think there might be a lot. Oh, well, we'll have a look now. Law. Oh, so these are all the things that have happened in law previously. Active policies, yeah, we're promoting economy with the highway. Current situations. Yeah, lack of investment and stuff like this. Tax evasion. Important businesses. Active policies, neutrality. Organisation for Merkel Plant Economic Cooperation. Alliance of Nations were a member of them. Okay, so it's a nice little overview of our policies and things. Okay, right then lads, call it an episode there, and when we come back we'll see what's next on the agenda. Hope you've enjoyed it. See you in the next one lads.